Hello, everybody. Welcome to Through the Mists, episode 15. I don't know what to say right now. You guys are in an alley. You were following the strange man that had yelled at you previously. But as he turned around, as you're in this dark alley, and the three of you who don't need light, and apparently neither does this human that you're talking to, his face melts away into this purplish flesh and then reconstitutes, and he looks completely different. His face is thinner, taller, he has finely groomed facial hair, his hair is neatly done up as opposed to being bald and like square jawed like he was previously. And he says, "I need your help." And as he says that, he quickly flips a cloak over his shoulders and begins tying it up, as behind you, you hear footsteps and you can see torchlight quickly coming towards the alley that you're in. Before we dive too far into this, I want to make sure you can all see the new map, except for maybe Twiggy, because Twiggy's not on the new map.
I don't think I
see
can.
anything.
Okay.
I'm good. I can see it.
Okay.
I can
Twiggy,
also see it.
You have just found a cupboard that is full of empty jars. Obviously there were things in it, but it looks like somebody's taken like their finger and swiped out any goods and eaten the rest of them. You haven't really found anything of use in this kitchen.
Unacceptable.
And about that time is when the dancing lights disappeared. What were you doing? I feel like you were gonna do something as the light faded.
Were the candles? Were there candles, or were there?
You hadn't seen any, but you had seen a little bit of torchlight coming in through the front windows. So like the front rooms are a little illuminated as opposed to this back room. So
Keep an eye out, I guess. Poke out through the window. Take a
Okay.
look through the window. Look at the light. Get an idea of what's going on out there.
yeah, make a perception check.
Because I think Dizzy just left, right?
It's been a couple minutes. Well, actually, it's been a minute, because that's how long dancing lights lasts.
– 17.
Nice. As you kind of peek out carefully, you notice that the torches aren't all lit along this main thoroughfare that goes through this district of the city, but like kind of every other one is lit. And although the street itself seems to be largely deserted at this time of night, you do see a fairly large group of guards that are standing off as you're looking out the window to the left. Many of them have torches, and so that's kind of what catches your eye, is the movement and the excessive light that's over there. And they seem to be looking for something.
I'm sure they are. That's the short end of my axe is what they're looking for. I'm gonna hold here for a few minutes,
Okay.
just to see if Dizzy comes back.
Totally.
Because I think we were aware of the others were back in, correct? Memory serves.
I believe so. I believe Dizzy said he was going to go out to look for them or something.
Yeah, I'll give it a few minutes just in case I need to rescue them.
Okay.
So the entry is dramatic enough to where the rescue is really. So if they lose a few fingers, I mean that makes the rescue even that much better.
Right. Totally. And that is the answer I was looking for, because I need to know if you're going to be coming upon what is about to happen as it happens. So Dizzy,
I'll wait a few minutes.
Sounds good. So Dizzy, Lyra, and Lilith, you are facing off with this person who just transformed before your eyes. Said that he it begins. Dizzy, you haven't rolled, I don't think, for Fickle Fate. Why don't you roll any die?
D9000.
92. You hear behind you as a door opens and some conversation from on the map. It's the building you're right next to, but it sounds like the door is around the corner and down the alley that you were led down. What's going on out here? I'm trying to sleep and there's all this ruckus and light. And you can hear some guards are like, "Oh, sorry, ma'am, we're looking for some fugitives." Sounds like they've been held up by an angry townsperson. In the meantime, what did the three of you do?
I'm going to say, let's use this time to get back to Twiggy.
What is a Twiggy?
He's a friend. We were posted up in a spot in this gated area.
I mean, it's not really safe for you all out here, but we can try. We need to get around these guards. Why don't we go? Follow me. Can you tell me where this house is you were holed up in?
Yeah, I can. And I guess I tell him where the house is.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a few alleys. On the map, it'd be to the south of where you are. A couple alleys up. So he leads you actually north and then off to the west to skirt around this area away from the guards. Why doesn't everybody make me a stealth check? And Lilith, if you need me to make any rolls for you, just let me know.
Oh no.
Ooh, nice.
Whoa.
Oh, when the rogue crit fails a check.
Right? When the rogue rolls a natural one, that's not the best sign. The good thing is they are being distracted, so maybe they won't notice. Oh, amazing. So
No.
as he's leading you around, the lights of these torches kind of start filtering throughout these alleys that you're heading towards, and so the four of you are trying to like quickly move as quietly as possible back towards the house and that Twiggy's in. And as you turn towards what is probably the last turn that you need to go down, Disley, you just need to like turn and head down the alley back towards the house. At the end of the building that you turn at is three figures. There are two guards that are done up in their armor with their helmets, and one guard that is wearing his armor but is carrying his helmet, and you instantly recognize him as the fellow who led you down the alley moments ago. Also the guard who was giving you all a bad time at the tavern originally. This person that you're currently with had borrowed his face to get your attention. And they all stop, and since the person that you're with is out front, they just kind of stare at each other, and then the guard captain shakes his head and he's just like, magistrate, what are you doing out at this hour? It's quite a magistrate, there are people behind you, step away. And he pulls his sword out. Ah, you, I've been looking for you. What did the three of you do?
Magistrate, do you want to tell him what's going on?
Of course, yes, quite. I'm sorry, good captain. I don't mean to cause any problems. I have hired these kind people to act as guards for me as I take care of some business that must remain quiet, if you know what I mean. And the captain kind of looks at him. Why don't you all make me a group? We're going to go with persuasion or deception, whichever you prefer to roll.
Mine are both the same. So.
Nice. I should grab this fellow and have him roll. He kind of stumbles over his words a little bit, but the three of you, as a group, you manage to kind of portray this hireling feeling that he's trying to convince the captain of, and the captain walks down. He's walking down the alley towards you, and the two guards are following him. But he does lower his sword, and as he grows closer and he's kind of like eyeing you all, he sheathes it. Well, in any case, you shouldn't be out at this time of night. Do you need us as an escort? And he kind of glares at the three of you. And where is your strange flying creature?
Am I familiar?
I'm not familiar with you. No.
Oh, no.
It's like a pet.
Yeah, he's like a pet. He had to go to the bathroom, so we let him out. He's whistle trained. Don't worry.
We do have strict leash laws here, especially in King's Quarter.
Can't really wear leashes, can they?
I do hope that if it makes a mess, you will clean it up. Otherwise, there are fines.
Oh, of course.
Kind of glares at the three of you, kind of the four of you. But then as he goes to say something else, he glances at the magistrate, and then you hear his teeth click shut as he closes his jaw, and you can see his jaw muscles kind of clench for a moment, right? And then he turns back towards the other guards and leads them away.
Let's go find that house that you guys were hiding into and come up with a plan.
It is, so essentially you just have to wait for the guards to get out of this alley, because the house is right up the alley to the right. And Twiggy, you can see the guards as they walk by. They didn't walk by initially because they came out of a side alley behind the house, but now they walk by and you can see them carrying the torches, and you recognize that captain that was giving you a bad time in the tavern earlier. And they walk out onto the main street and head off towards the north.
I will a curse towards them, but I know it's going to take a little while for it to really set in, you know? They got to marinate in that curse.
How is the curse worded?
Well, I mean, it's foul language, you know, in kind of old Sylvan, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's practicing his courtly tongue, you know.
Is there an intent behind this curse?
Yeah, he's gonna have more toes.
Gotcha.
So I'm just gonna give him more toes so that he might be uncomfortable in his shoes.
Interesting. Okay, so do me a favor, just make a charisma check.
I can do that, I think.
Nice. Okay. Good to know. All right, so as the group of you reaches that back door that you came out of, Dizzy, I don't think you locked it behind you, but you closed it behind you, correct?
Yes. Right?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
So Dizzy, you lead them up to the back of the house and in through the back door. Twiggy, you hear the back door open, and you hear a group of people enter the kitchen.
I will draw my boomerang and slide behind I don't know, an empty jar.
So were you watching from the kitchen and not from the front where you could see the street?
Oh, I'm in a different section of the house then?
Yeah. So essentially you flitted up towards the front and you were kind of You could make out a little bit of, with the light that you have, a little bit of like a door that's in the front area, some furniture. It's all very dim though, and so you could like flit down behind what looks like a rocking chair.
Would be Is there any like taxidermy? Thing. Like any taxidermy on the walls?
Roll a d20.
I can do that.
Odd is yes, even is no. No, there is no taxidermy in this house.
All right. Well, I'm going to duck behind whatever I can duck behind. Got my boomerang at the ready. I'm going to.
Sure. Yeah, you duck down and there's like so you're next to a rocking chair and there's a little like table that has some side compartments on it that you can see paper sticking out of, and you kind of duck down behind that. Dizzy, Lilith, and Lyra, you enter this kitchen. Lyra and Lilith, having not been here before, it has a certain stench to it, kind of like that of rotting meat. And in your dark vision, or with your dark vision, you can see that there is a body sitting at a small dining table, but without light. It's harder to make out details, but you do notice there's a person that is dead sitting there.
Lara just kind of like looks at it disinterested because mercenary. And she's just like, ugh.
I mean, as long as it's not attacking you.
Yeah, right? She's like, okay. And then just for, shits and giggles, she kind of, whistles, because, she did say that Twiggy was whistle trained. So she's just kind of like, hey, just a nice little whoop of a whistle, which apparently my mouth is not doing right now.
Right. And the three of you notice, Dizzy, you notice this because they were closed when you left, but several of the cabinets have been opened. There are empty jars that have been taken out, and looks like Twiggy was essentially digging through the cabinets.
Okay. I'm gonna look through the cabinets and see if I can find Twiggy.
Twiggy, you hear as whoever entered the kitchen whistles, and then you hear some jars clinking together as though somebody's searching through the cabinets.
Unhand those! Those are mine!
A voice comes from the front room.
Unless you're here to fill them, in which case, please go ahead.
Yeah, Lilith is just gonna go up and give Twiggy a hug. But not as a surprise hug. Like, Twiggy! It's been too
big.
long.
You're so big.
Yeah, like with her hand.
Like.
Meanwhile, the magistrate is standing behind you and kind of looking around. Why are you holed up with the dead person?
We're waiting for him to sign over the house.
I think it may be a long wait if you're waiting for him.
Well, I mean, time is kind of immaterial, isn't it?
No, it's not. So is this the creature you were looking for? He asked Dizzy.
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's probably best if we wait here. I'd like to return to my own abode. I feel safer there, but while the guards are about, it would be better to remain out of their sight. Even though for now the captain seems to be convinced that you are hirelings helping me. I'm so rude, I apologize. My name is Alphonse, and your timing could not be more impeccable in your arrival in the city. What does bring you to Paradon?
Well, actually, we got lost in the mist, and we ended up here. We would gladly leave because we have things to do if we could, but
I see.
We're here.
I was hoping that you had some way through the mist that you would come on our shipping lanes have been closed down, and therefore what food and supplies we have now are all that we have for the time being. Well, that just makes your help all the more important now. Why don't we have a seat? It doesn't look like this fellow had anything left to eat, but we can remedy that later, after the guards are gone.
Yeah, they're really not doing a very good job with hospitality. Just laying there at the table, like a lump. Even the dead can do the job.
He goes into the front room and searches around, finds a like an oil lamp, pulls out a box of matches, strikes one, lights the lamp, puts the cover back on it, and turns it up so it illuminates fairly decently that front room, and looks around.
Front room?
What's that?
Sorry. As soon as that happens, Labra goes like pulls it out.
Dude.
She's like, "What are you doing?"
If you'd rather sit in the dark, that's fine.
And you want to be found. And here I thought you were a magistrate. Like, she's very like, really.
Well, fortunately, this guy's does give me certain platitudes within King's quarters. Although, perhaps you're right, being found with a dead man in the kitchen would be bad.
Arch's eyes are narrowed. She's like, whatever.
and he sits in a leather chair, squeaks a bunch as he settles in. And he waits for you all to join him. Whether you sit or stand is your call.
Is there an upstairs to this house?
You do see a staircase in the front room, yes.
Okay. Lara's just kind of like do that lean against, like, you know,
The
upper
stairwell.
portion of the
Yeah.
stairwell. She's not gonna sit. She
Okay.
doesn't sit still very well, so she's just gonna kind of like half lean. That's where she's at.
Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm gonna keep looking through the cabinets and stuff to see if we can find anything worthwhile.
Gotcha. Make an investigation check. Is there anything in particular that you're looking for?
Not particularly. I'm just trying, because I haven't looked through the cabinets or anything. I think it's mostly been Twiggy.
Yeah. On 15, mostly you find, like kitchen utensils, pots, pans, dishes, cups. Everything is fairly nice. It's not like fine china, but it is, fairly nice make, in good repair. But it seems like all of the food in the house has been gone through. Yeah, I don't think there would be anything else of real interest that you would find. You do notice that one of the cabinets is that's like sitting at the doorway that goes into the front room. The door is very heavy. It's almost like it's been reinforced with something or something. And you open it up and you see like a pool of water on the bottom, and the inside is very like small compared to how big the door is. Essentially, it's the inside of a cooling box, but the ice long ago melted, and there's no food inside. But it's kind of a weird thing. I'm not sure how often you would have seen something like that in the Forgotten Realms. Make a history check to see if you know what a refrigerator is. You've heard of these. Certain people in areas that have like some way to make ice, whether it's magic or something. They've made use of these. We've just never seen one in person before. Lilith, what are you doing?
I want to check out the dead guy and see if I can identify what killed him.
Okay.
And also kind of rummage through pockets if he's got keys or anything of note.
Gotcha. Go ahead and make a medicine check to see what killed him. Nice. He's pretty emaciated. Not quite like he's lost weight, but probably not as much as like somebody who's consistently hungry and then starves. This person was probably once fairly well fed consistently and then died of starvation over a few days, and so definitely not quite as emaciated as they could be, but it has been some time since they died, and so like the stench isn't quite as bad, you notice, and a lot of the liquids in their body have pooled and like dried on the ground, so
Ew.
you're pretty sure that they died of starvation, and you realize that there's a good chunk of this fellow's leg that is missing, and it kind of resembles the chunk of meat that is laying on the plate in front of him that has been partially eaten. Would you still like to go through his pockets?
Yep. I'd like to do that.
Pockets. So as you do, there's like they're not still wet from his body, but they're now kind of crunchy from those body fluids drying. So you stick your hand in there, and there's like kind of flakes of something that peel off and fall down on the floor. But you manage to your hand grasps what feels like a key and a some kind of amulet or something. It's hard to tell while your hand is in there. Would you like to pull them both out?
Yes.
As you pull them out, the amulet looks thick. It's probably 2 inches thick. Has some filigree designs on either side, and it looks like there is a seam around the middle of its circumference. There's also what looks like a place that you could attach something at the top. There's like a little hoop, and then within that hoop there is a button.
Pressing a button. I'd like to press the button.
It clicks open, and make a history check.
You can't tell me there's a button with
Right?
not have it be touched.
You've definitely seen like gnomes in the Forgotten Realms walk around with these. They call them watches, pocket watches. You've never really understood the point of them. Why be even more beholden to time than the sun and moon already make you? So this is a time-telling device. It doesn't seem to be working right now.
All right, I'm gonna take the watch and try and talk to our friend, and just say like, why hasn't he been buried or burned or processed? He's clearly been dead. Like, what is this town doing? If not, like, if they're leaving dead people here to be disgusting. Why?
So you walk into the front room as Lyra's like settling up against the stairwell. Dizzy's finishing up going through, like, you essentially are staring in the ice box, Dizzy. Dizzy, do you want to follow Lilith in?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone comes together, and he, the magistrate, Alphonse, he looks at you, and we've been in a rather sad state of affairs lately. Since the calamity, food has been scarce to begin with, but the people have made do after the initial starvation, and fish have helped, but we really came to rely on trade with other realms. There was let's call it a pathway to other places just off of our docks, and so we have ships that carry goods from here and trade them with other lands for food. But unfortunately, recently that pathway closed. The people don't know about it yet. And fortunately, the outside of King's Quarters, a lot of them don't really rely on food from other places yet. As far as the gentleman in the kitchen, we don't do door-to-doors unless somebody has been missing him and comes looking. I guess, or if the smell got bad enough to make a neighbor question. But I feel like many of us are just going about life with our heads down, trying to make the best of things.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. This poor man needs some peace, I think.
It looked like he had a small garden at one time behind the house. We could place him there if it would make you feel better.
Yeah, I think I'd like to do that. I'm gonna go find a blanket somewhere in the house and go back, get his oozing body in the blanket, and then go dig him a hole in the
Okay.
back.
If you need help, just let us know.
That's okay.
If you head upstairs, there's a couple of bedrooms that each have... one is very well made up. Looks like it hasn't really been lived in. It's probably a guest room, whereas his room has a lot more stuff in it. And it looks like the bed has been made, but it isn't really like quite as neat. So you could pull off like the comforter that's on it and use that to cover him with.
Yep. I'm gonna do that.
While you're doing this, Alphonse kind of looks at the rest of you and he says, I'm afraid that we are all stuck here for the time being, and there is a conflict that has been going on that seems to be coming to a head. It's been made worse recently by the release of certain creatures, let's say, that can actually do what I do. And his face kind of like shifts from like Alphonse's face to Dizzy's face to Lyra's face, and then back to Alphonse's face. Unfortunately, they don't have the same intent in the city as my kind do. I will admit, when my kind was found out many years ago, it did kind of cause somewhat of a ruckus. But once everyone realized that we're just trying to make a living as well, we've kind of lived in a certain harmony. No, I won't call it harmony. A certain level of understanding with the humans that live within Paradon. The other shape changers, however, are a little more chaotic. I can see a question on Lyra's face. Would Lyra like to ask it?
Maybe.
Or maybe it's just a statement.
Out of character, I'm thinking about it, but honestly, both in and out of character, Lyra's face is very similar. Out of character, can I roll a history check to see if Lyra has come across this shape changer before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
13. You've definitely heard stories of shape changers. And there was a time when you met a person that after the fact, like a friend of yours had been like, did you know that person is a shape changer? And you were like, huh. Like, you didn't see them change shape, but you've definitely heard of shape changers before.
Okay. So, pretty much when it's Lyra's face that crosses their face, Lyra just like looks very uncomfortable, like she's not here for it. And she kind of does the same thing that I was kind of doing right there, is she's like mulling over something, and you know, she can be a bit abrasive, and she goes, don't use my face.
My apologies, I should have asked first. I just was trying to make a point, but yes, that actually brings me to my point that the three of you and your pet are, you know, absolutely, you stand out. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you stand out, and really anyone who lives in Paradon is going to notice this, and they're going to have a certain level of distrust of you. No offense again, but
You don't say.
That-
And Lyra just kind of gestures.
right.
Like,
But
really?
that distrust is exactly what I need you for. Because they will distrust you, I need you to help with this situation that is arising, and hopefully it will lead to a way that you can leave this realm like you wish to.
Lyra kind of looks to see how the others are reacting to.
So right now, Dizzy and Twiggy are the only ones in the room with Lyra.
Right,
Lilith is upstairs. Yeah,
right,
you can hear her walking around.
Yep. Yeah. But she's kind of looking to see how Twiggy and Dizzy are like reacting to this before she says anything.
Okay. Dizzy, what are you thinking?
I'm always down for causing a little bit of mischief, so...
Okay. Twiggy, what are you thinking?
Well, it's dark. Think he is kind of partially listening. I think the whole pet thing kind of went right over his head. He's not sure what they're talking about, like shape changers. Like, yeah, they're everywhere. Like, there's like shape changers everywhere. Have you not like been on top of things before? They're like things that like look like doors, and some that look like rugs, and people who look like other people.
Twiggy, go ahead and make a history check for me. This may come into play later, but it'd be good to know. Okay, cool, good to know. So Alphonse is kind of eyeing you all. Twiggy, you can't really tell that, but there's a break in his monologue. If anyone wants to say anything, ask him questions.
So when does this house make the lobster rolls?
Oh, I'm not sure if they... I mean, I'm assuming if there was a servant or some kind of chef that this person, and he gestures back towards the kitchen, had on duty, they probably would have noticed his body. So I'm assuming there will be no lobster rolls made here unless you know how to make them yourself. And do you have lobster?
I mean, that's what houses here do.
Alphonse looks at Dizzy and Lyra questioningly.
Just disregard that. So what's the deal with the fish that we've been blamed for?
Ah, yes, I did hear the murmurs. That's actually how I knew you were in the city. The rumor has spread already that strangers are in town. Let's just say that the folk of Paradon are a superstitious lot. The humans like to blame what they don't understand on usually strangers or people that are different from them. I apologize for any bad experience that you've had in this city.
Lyra is going to interject a little, and something has kind of come to her brain as she's been waiting for anybody else to respond. And she kind of like narrows her eyes at him and says, "Were you the one following us?"
Can you be more specific?
After we first arrived here, there was a man with a, correct me out of character, wearing reddish beard and hair, and he appeared. He tended to keep his distance, and every time I turned around to get a little bit of a better look, he was gone. But I did happen to knock on his door, yet The last time I saw him was at the dock.
Unfortunately, that was not me. That does worry me, however. Did you get a close look at his eyes?
Oh man, out of character, I don't remember.
Make a wisdom check.
Okay, cool. I'm like, did she? I don't know.
9. You're having a hard time recall. He was in shade, and when you're seeing with dark vision, of course you saw his eyes, but
Yeah, but grayscale.
what color they were or anything about them, very very difficult to tell.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it was just an interested party. Somebody curious about you being in town. But no, that was not me. I've actually only recently come to find you and was taking somewhat of a not a risk, but I was rolling the dice, chancing fate that it would be you that had come causing the alarm at the front gate. And fortunately, I rolled well.
Oh, now Lyra's like concerned about like, oh man, there's 2 people watching us. Like,
Do be careful as you walk around Paradon. If you notice others following you, either bring it to my attention, or if you can capture them, maybe that's not the right way to do it. I don't know. We need to verify which faction they might be with. There are those who are going to be working against you if you choose to help me.
what is it exactly that you need our help with? Like, Lyra's like, her attitude's kind of like enough dancing around the bush here. Like,
Right.
What do you need?
It's quite a convoluted problem, but let me say that my kind has been here for a long time, and we've been content to, what is the word, piss in each other's pots rather than everyone's. Our own factions essentially make their lives about causing problems for the other factions, and we're completely fine with that. We understand that life in Paradon is tipped on a very unstable scale, let me say, and any larger influence that we might put in could disrupt the chance of life moving on, to be honest. However, there are other shape changers here that, let's say that they have no regard for the humans of Paradon, or really anyone else but themselves. And we thought them long ago taken care of. A group not unlike your own, strangers from another land, came through and locked them away. They are a long-lived, but they were locked away in a prison of sorts. And it has recently come to light that the prison door was opened, and those within have escaped. I believe, personally, it is the doing of the Mariketh who dwell beneath the surface. But I haven't been able to find any proof of that. It could very well be someone within the city, although why they would do this, I can't say for sure. But the pathway that allowed our trade ships to leave and come back with food closed around the time that the prison was opened. And I just feel it is too much of a coincidence to be not related. He just kind of eyes you all. So I guess what I'm getting at is, because people will not trust you automatically, it will make it difficult for you to get around the city without being pestered. But at the same time, those of us who fit in, let's just say that if somebody is wearing a face that everyone else recognizes, they could do pretty much anything they wanted to and cause a lot of harm. Whereas you four could possibly get something done to find this without other shapeshifters wondering about you.
Lara is very contemplative.
Okay.
So she's just kind of like mulling things over. I mean,
It's
she's
about
a
this
hired
time that
attendant.
Lilith has like walked by with the blanket. You can hear in the kitchen this like kind of thump, and then the door opens and there's not a very loud dragging sound because it's on a blanket, but you like drag him outside and then carry him down the steps. You do notice there are some garden tools next to the garden. It's not a very large garden. Essentially the house has a small area, like the kitchen juts out into the alley, and then where that small area where the jut is, there's just a small garden that the cobblestones are like stacked up, not by the house. It looks like this fellow ripped up the street or like the small alley in order to start this garden. There's the hint of things starting to grow there, but it looks like if he was like hoping that this would feed him soon, didn't happen fast enough.
This poor guy. Lilith is just gonna straight up, dig it all up and stick them in there. I mean, it's gonna be nutrients for the dirt anyway. So if anything in the future decides to grow, it's like back to the earth.
Totally.
To the earth. And is the moon out? Are we able
you
to see the
can't
moon?
see because it's cloudy and covered in that black
I'm gonna
smoke.
trust that the moon is out and just know that it's there, and I'm gonna say a little bit of kind of a prayer for him,
Okay.
like a field prayer, so that maybe the plants around him can grow around him and give him new life.
Nice. You do recall that it's actually almost a full moon back on Faerun, where you're from. So even if you can't see the moon here, somewhere the moon is out.
Where there's a full moon,
right?
I'm gonna channel that, and I'm gonna also kind of call out to my person and just say, like, it's a shame that there's death and disease and people needing food, and to help us help these people. Then I'm gonna head right on it.
Okay. Dizzy, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna ask, what about, do you know Vetty, or, because I think we're supposed to report back to her at least tomorrow.
Does he know Vetty? Let's find out. Do. I'm sorry, I don't know that name. Can you describe this person?
I will give a very general description.
I've heard of her. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her, but she is one of the very few non-humans that resides in Paradon. So yes, I've definitely heard of her.
should we get her on board with this? I mean, the more bodies, the better, right?
I suppose it really depends on what you think. I'm not really good at this kind of thing. I've really made my life here as Alphonse, and I just try to make a living as a tradesperson. But my ships are just sitting in the harbor with, goods to be traded and nowhere to trade them to. We can't eat watches here, now can we? The answer is no, you can't eat watches here, just in case.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he knows the bartender, since the bartender can change shape as well.
Do you want to ask him?
Oh yeah, I'll ask. Do you know the bartender? Shapeshifter, makes himself look bigger.
I think I know who you're talking about. At the tavern off the dock that is unnamed but just has the picture of a mug. That one?
Is that the one?
Yeah. Oh, that is the one. John, why don't you roll me any number die?
It's going to be a 9,000-sided die.
Make it so.
I'm going to, yeah. RD 9,000. Oh, I may have broken it. There you go.
All right.
2,489.
I will come back to that because Lilith is outside, so she's going to get a perception check when she comes back. Meanwhile, yes, Dizzy, that is the fellow that you saw.
So can he also change his face like you do, or just
Oh, he
his
can.
body?
He can. I know of him. I don't know him personally. We are not in the same clan. In fact, we kind of vie against one another to see who can be more successful. Like he's going to ever make a living in that little crap hole of a tavern. Lilith, why don't you make me a perception check? Okay. Hold on 1 second for me. You notice as you're standing there, saying your prayers to your moon goddess, there is movement down the alley, not the way you came from, but the opposite direction. There is no torchlight over there.
I'm going to take mental note of that, kind of cover myself a little bit more, go on inside, and let everybody know that maybe somebody saw me on the other side of the alley.
Okay. What does everybody do?
Did you get a good look at the person that might have seen you?
Nope.
It was
But there's
almost like
definitely somebody skulking
shadow
about.
moving across shadow is all you really noticed, Lilith.
Okay.
Hey, maybe we should lock the doors and just kind of post up for a bit.
I'm okay with that.
Maybe also shut the windows.
Okay. Lilith, are you shutting the back door?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you and Dizzy both make me perception checks? Both of you notice as you were, like, Lilith, as you're locking that back door, there's a little window next to it, and Dizzy, you're making sure that the windows are closed and are locked up. Both of you notice eyes, like the reflection in like an animal's eyes as light bounces off. Very faint, and Dizzy, you notice it. So like you're on the side of the house, essentially inside, and you notice it across the alley, but up and with your dark vision, you'd be able to see like the side of the building across the alley up to the shingled roof. It looks like there's something on the roof, one set of eyes, and Lilith, the alley that continues on. So as you walk out of the back, there's a small alley, and there's the alley that runs perpendicular to that. Looks like they're standing at that meeting point, that crossroad, and there's 3 sets of eyes that kind of reflect, and they're not like all at the same time. They kind of like move around.
Do I feel scared of it, or does it seem more like animals?
It's unnerving. I would say it's unnerving because it does seem animal-like, although it is higher than it should be.
Okay. I'm gonna let's see if we should go confront those eyes. I mean, everything is locked up, and I guess see how everybody feels about how secure we're in here.
Okay.
You know, does anyone want to go check these eyes, or should we just leave it alone?
What do you mean by check the eyes?
I mean, go out there and see who they belong to. See if they're harmless, or if
Generally,
they
eyes
need
are
to
very
be-
harmless.
If the creatures the eyes are attached to are going to cause us problems, or maybe they're going to help us, but maybe we should find out which one.
And as you're having this conversation, you notice that Alphonse is kind of like looking out the windows to see what you're talking about. Dizzy, you notice that the set of eyes that you saw, they like turn and then disappear. So there's, you definitely see them disappear as a movement as opposed to just blinking out.
Okay. I'm gonna look at Lyra and ask, should we, I guess, engage, or what are you thinking?
Lyra has been watching Alphonse very carefully this entire time, and when Lilith comes in and is like when Lilith and Dizzy come in and they're like, "Yo, animal eyes," Lyra's like, "You're the magistrate. What's outside?"
Make a insight for me.
Okay. Where is that? Okay, there it is. There it is.
So, he definitely seems interested in what Dizzy and Lilith have noticed. And as he looks out, he says, there are those who have dogs remaining, and a handful of cats maybe, but they shouldn't be traveling around. And he kind of glances meaningfully back at the kitchen to where that guy was. Let's just say that those who were left to wander didn't make it long.
Lyra's lips kind of purse, and she looks to Dizzy, who had, of course, looked at her, and was like, "Well, they know we're here, clearly.
So
Do
maybe we should see what
engage
they
somebody
want.
who hasn't engaged us?"
I'm just wondering if they are friend or foe.
Lyra just kind of shrugs. She's like, "Well,
I mean, if
be."
you don't care, then I'm not gonna bother, but
Yeah.
I am certain that they are not of my faction, whatever they are. My people have been told that I was coming to find you, and they would have let me know.
Lyra is kind of indifferent. You know, she's like, they know we're here, but they haven't engaged us, right? They're just kind of watching. And Lara is also of somebody who watches carefully before they move. So she's like, well, if they're not moving, there's not a problem type of like mindset.
So
Especially if they're
Dizzy
moving.
definitely saw the one set disappear. So, just throwing that out there as far as they're moving. Twiggy, what do you
Sorry.
do?
If they're moving towards her, it's not a problem. I guess I should.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Twiggy, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that this guy calls himself a magistrate, so he's probably the one responsible for the abject failure to uphold the Accord, which is thousands of years old. Doesn't understand the rights, doesn't perform the rights, doesn't enforce the rights.
The right of Fae.
All of the rights. Clearly.
Come on, right away, right of Fae.
Yeah, the right of Fae. That's right. That's right. You don't even know who you're talking to. But I'll just let that boil inside while I consider whether or not to stab this guy. I don't know.
Okay. Lilith, are you there, just not on camera? What are you feeling as far as this group that's outside?
I'm not a huge fan of being in a weird city of desperate people, so I'm not a huge fan of these eyes. But I don't want to go out by myself and draw more attention, which is exactly what I would do. So I'm okay with kind of leaving it alone unless they engage with us.
You do notice as you're watching a shadow over a shadow, that kind of what you saw before, appears on the roof that is essentially just a little bit behind them. It came from the side of the house, almost like it leapt from the house next to you onto the house that's catty corner from you. And then eyes appear as it faces, and you can tell it's looking down at the other group, and that group turns. And what's your passive perception? I can look it up if you can't see it.
It's 15.
15. You hear noises. It's not really language, but you can definitely hear some communication that's going on. It's almost like yips. And the four sets turn and look at you.
Awesome.
You definitely feel like they can see you.
Okay. And nobody inside wants to do anything about it because I messed it up.
So you're in the kitchen and they're up in the front room. You can hear conversation going on up there, but you've had a hard time really hearing what's being said. Oh, sorry. Lean over just a little bit more.
I'm just gonna hold my hand up because they can, I guess, see it and just kind of like stop.
Okay.
And then turn around and go find everybody else and just let them know that all of these eyes were very, very intent on watching me in the window.
Okay.
You didn't invite them in, did you?
No.
Okay. I mean, because we do not have the materials necessary to be hospitable to them in this here my house.
Let them in.
What?
I did not let them in. Don't worry.
Good.
Oh, I thought you said let them in, and I was like, what? Please, no.
We're not ready for it yet. We don't have the pitcher, the punch bowl, and all the things that you have to have.
Lilith totally opened the door
Yeah, the
and then
lobster
left like
rolls.
a trail of granola leading to the front room. Okay, come, sit with us. So Dizzy, what are you thinking?
They may not have approached us, but I'm thinking that we should at least, set up some sort of guard system in case they are prepping for an ambush.
Okay. Why don't the four of you, actually, Twiggy, Lyra, and Dizzy make perception checks? Lyra's passive. Sorry, Lilith's passive will cover this.
And Lyra has advantage, but I still don't know how to push that.
That's fine. Just
So I'll just roll twice.
totally.
I'll just
Twiggy, you're just so overcome with what the hell are you going to do to feed even more guests when there's no food in here to begin with? Like, what are you going to eat, let alone what are you going to serve your guests that you're
We
not
don't even
really...
have dancers. There's not even dancers.
Right. And like you remember a little bit of like some of the welcoming dances, but most of the time it's been you being welcomed, and so you haven't had to like do much in the way of performing them. Man. Meanwhile, Dizzy and Lyra both hear there's like this yipping noise, almost like the thing that comes to mind because you've both like traveled around certain areas of the Forgotten Realms, or like coyotes or something, some kind of like yipping bark that sounds nearby, but more importantly, there's an answer that comes it's barely registered by your hearing. It seems farther away.
Lyra's eyes go wide, which is kind of hard to notice because her entire eyes and whites and irises are just like the same color.
Right.
They're just this like starry midnight, but they do go wide. She goes, "We have to go." She's just like, "No, we have to go. They're calling others. We need to leave."
You can see Alfonso has his head tilted. He's like, I was afraid of that. It seems as though we've been found out by those shapeshifters that I was warning you about. We could try to hold up here. I feel like perhaps my domicile is a little more well defended, but getting there may be problematic. What do you think?
Well, we're a little weary from our travels, so I don't know if we would be able to handle being attacked.
Oh dear.
Could we defend this location, or do you think we could sneak out and get to your place unscathed?
He goes back and looks out the windows. He looks out the front windows and the other side of the room as well. I don't see any of them. Perhaps we could sneak out the front, but if I'm missing one by looking, and they have a lookout on the front of the house, they're gonna know if we step out. He looks at all the windows. I'm concerned by all of these openings. The glass is likely shatterable, and it does not appear to be enhanced by magic of any kind. Dizzy, you can actually speak to that because I'm pretty sure you broke through a window upstairs to get in here, or maybe it was Twiggy.
I think, did I break through a window or did I go down the chimney?
Oh, you went down the chimney because
You
the
went
windows
down
were
the
closed.
chimney,
Yeah.
but I think
You're
I
right.
left out of a window. I'm not sure if I broke it or not.
You opened
I know I
the
didn't leave
window.
through the door.
Yeah, you opened that window to get out of. So yeah,
Okay.
you're actually not sure if it's breakable or not. So the Alphonse seems completely unsure of whether this place is defendable or if you could manage an escape.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
That is true. What do you think? Which avenue should we take?
How are
Lyra
we
is almost
finding
at like
out?
Twiggy's level of like energy, right? Like she is like foot tapping, like hand, like fingers, like against each other, and she's like she's ready to go. Like I'm out of here. So but she won't. She's not the type of person to be like, "I'm leaving you all." I mean, she is, but in this moment, Lilith is still here, so she's not.
Okay.
Aren't you just as wounded and weary as us? And you went through a lot at that house, and
Uh,
you're ready to fight.
Character, Lyra has full hit points. Is that wrong?
Oh,
I think that's correct because I don't think you got jacked up in the physical way that other people did.
I got
Um,
jacked up.
Okay, I was like,
She had other things happen to her.
right, exactly. And also, I know that Lilith died and then didn't. So, she knows.
Yeah, looking
Other
at your
people,
looking at everyone, even though Lyra is at full hit points, you all haven't slept for you're not actually sure how long.
For how long?
The last
Yeah.
you
Have you
remember,
taken exhaustion yet?
right? It was
oh wait, yeah, I was just about to say, do we have exhaustion?
not yet, but you were definitely starting to feel not just tired, but like a lot of what you've been running on is adrenaline, and even though it's still going, especially right now, your bodies are starting to like feel weary, like more than just tired. Like you're getting a little.
Laura asks the obvious when she looks at Alphonse. Is like, how far away do you live?
Unfortunately, several blocks. We could take the main thoroughfare. There were guards out there, and he kind of looks down. I don't see them, but there is a larger gathering of light further up. I can't quite tell if it's them or not.
2 birds, 1 stone. I'm gonna throw something through the window.
Where do you throw through the window?
A jar.
A jar. Which window? Like a front
Hopefully
window?
it's an open window.
He said, "Well, we have to test to see if the glass is breakable and make noise. And noise equals guards. Guards equal I don't know what's ever going with these shapeshifters or something, whatever. And we're not inviting them in. It's actually part of the rights of go away. Step 1, really."
So while the conversation is going on, Twiggy went back and got a jar, flies up to the front. Are you throwing it out like a front window, a side window?
The guy was saying something about the torchlight, whatever direction he was pointing towards torchlight.
Yeah.
Just
So like the window
chuck
he
it
was
out
at?
there.
Sure.
Sure, chuck it out there.
Why don't you roll athletics? Make an athletics check.
Athletics. Boop.
All right, so this jar goes sailing forward, and even though it is also glass, it's like, shaped tempered glass, and it has some pretty hard edges. It's thicker than the windows, and it just goes smashing out. I feel like this happens fairly suddenly, as Twiggy's just like, 2 birds, 1 stone. What does everyone do?
I'm gonna ready my weapons.
Lyra just freezes. She's like, fuck. She's like, like silently, you just kind of hear "Wait!" But like it's a lot quieter than that. But I wanted my mic to pick it up. Like,
Right. So essentially, Lyra is standing, leaning against the staircase, which is in the center of this front room, and going up. Dizzy is on the side of the house, essentially, that the kitchen is on, but isn't in the front room. Lilith is in the kitchen. On the same side of the house, Twiggy just threw the window, or threw the jar through the window that is in the same side of the house, but the very front of it, next to Alphonse, who looks at Twiggy and looks at the window.
It's breakable.
Yes, we need to run. And
Why?
he heads towards the front door.
Well, we should all be together if we're going to make a good run for it. And maybe I could create a distraction to be able to run the other direction from it.
Okay, what are you thinking?
How far away from the house are there? Like I saw them through the kitchen window, but they're in the back, and there was 4 eyes.
Yeah. When you go back to look, there's only 3 sets of eyes. And there's one on the roof, which is a little bit further away from them, and there are 2 that are on the ground, and they are looking between the house and back down the alley. The ones on the ground, you are guessing, are about 20 feet away, and the ones on the roof is probably 30 to 35 feet away.
I'm going to use my Thume and cause like a tremor
Okay.
in the back part while we run out the front part.
Okay. So the ground begins to shake, and you can see their eyes like are darting around. They like kind of shift out of the reflection and then come back up and look around, and then they're looking around. So if everyone's trying to leave quietly, you can do a stealth check at advantage because of this distraction, which would mean Lilith is going to roll just a straight roll.
Okay. A normal roll.
That was the wrong one.
Is your stealth also +7?
Oh no.
Okay.
+5.
Oh,
Man,
well-
my stealth is bad.
Dizzy, let's take that roll you did and just add 2 more to it. So you got a 24. Lilith got a 5.
Let me roll twice. I still don't know how to push this, but it's fine. Oh my god, the rogue.
And let's give Alphonse, who is not good at this, does better than the rogue anyway.
No, excuse me. 18. Thank you. Thank you.
Wait, what?
You said with advantage.
Yes. So I see a 9 and a 10.
Oh, right. It's not 10 plus 8. Right, I'm used to D&D now.
Yeah, you rolled a 2
yeah.
plus 8.
Great. Yes.
So everyone but Dizzy does pretty horribly. Did Twiggy? I don't see one for Twiggy.
Twiggy does not do stealth. That's not his thing. He's neon. He neon. He glitters.
That's
man.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So, who's out the door first? Even though Alphonse is close, so Twiggy goes and
Going out through the hole in the window.
you just go out the hole in the window. Sure.
Yeah.
Out.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Alphonse hits the door, starts like trying to open it, realizes it's locked, unlocks it, throws it open, runs after out into the street. Who's following?
I'm gonna look at Lyra, like a very long look and a nod, and follow quickly.
There's a Michael Bay slow motion moment where you're like,
Lyra is literally tripping over herself.
yeah, even with your dark vision, you didn't notice there was like a table right next to you, and you just like kick it, and it goes like clumping across the floor.
Yeah.
Dizzy, you're just like, and then you're outside, and it's so quiet, you didn't even like let anyone know. But everyone else rushes out, and you can see Alphonse is heading towards the group of torches that now that you're out of the building and in the main thoroughfare, you can see there's a group of guards down there holding torches, and it looks like Alphonse is running towards them. What do you do?
Fly after.
Okay. Dizzy.
I'm gonna try to stick to the shadows, like
Sure.
out of the torchlight.
So if you go across the thoroughfare and like you can kind of blend into the shadows on the other side of the street, there's every other torch is lit, kind of like street lights, except for every other one is on, and you feel, especially with that amazing stealth roll that you got, you're pretty good as far as moving through the shadows. Lyra, what are you doing?
I mean, there's no way Lyra can save herself at this point, right?
I mean, you're standing in the middle of the street, and you do hear some excited yips coming from the alley to your left. You can't tell if they see you or if it's Lilith's distraction that has them excited.
Okay. but she can see the guards in the middle of the
Yep.
street.
Yeah, all of you can see the guards that are down. They're on the left-hand side of the street, but kind of in a large group, so they're taking up a good chunk of the road itself.
Do they look like they're looking to us or to the yips?
It doesn't actually look like they were looking at any of you currently, and they're about a block down.
Okay, Lyra just kind of goes like slow down, like like very carefully, like like don't run, right?
Are you like wogging?
Hey, you told them once before, right? Like, hello.
Right?
Yeah. Like when you come up on a speeding cop and you're just gonna slam on your brakes a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, like one of those, except for you're on your feet.
Okay.
All
Right. And
so
Lilith.
she immediately kind of like pumps her physical brakes, since they're not like looking towards them yet. Yeah, right. They're not looking towards them yet, so it's like, as she does so though, she kind of like puts a hand up for like Twiggy. It's like, and like kind of like nets him with her hand, because knowing Twiggy, like she kind of knows Twiggy and is like, and like just kind of like catches him.
And
Spray
Lilith,
glitter.
right? Lilith, what are you doing?
Well, I think I'd like to continue on distraction. So, we get some murmurs going on. So where I know that those creatures are,
Mhm.
whatever they are, I'd like some mysterious murmurs to kind of surround the area behind them, away from us.
How far away can you do
And-
that?
30 feet?
It's a little too far
Am I
because once you head out the
too far?
front, yeah, once it's you can't get behind them. You could do it in front of them, but then it's more towards you'd only be able to
Sure.
do it towards where you are.
Sure. I'm gonna do it off to the side then.
Okay.
The side, like the other house, one house down,
Okay.
and have it come from that house, with some added like shaking windows after that, because I can do this stuff as I want.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm just going to, with long strides, just walk like I belong there.
Okay. So the group walks mostly together, minus Dizzy, who's just kind of like melding in and out of shadows on the right-hand side of the thoroughfare. Dizzy, make me a perception check. As you're moving through, you can hear the yips that were down the hall, not the hallway, the alley next to the house you were in, stop. And you're really not sure what that means. And as you all grow closer or draw closer to this group of guards, a couple of them like notice your movement and raise torches and are kind of like looking, and it's more like they saw your movement before they could tell who you are, and so they have their hands on the hilts of their swords and they're squinting, try to see in the shadows beyond their torchlight. And as you become illuminated by their light, they relax as Alphonse puts his hands up and he's like, it's okay. The captain saw us earlier and has given us leave to be traveling the streets. I'm actually heading back to my home right now. And they all kind of murmur amongst each other, and then they don't like step out of the way so much as just like kind of move the formation of their group a little bit so it's easier to walk around them. Anybody do anything, or are you just gonna follow Alphonse?
Just gonna follow
Okay.
his lead.
Dizzy?
Yeah, pretty much.
I will step out of the shadows and follow.
Okay. Your sudden appearance kind of makes them jump a little, but once again, Alphonse is like, oh, no, he's with me. It's fine. And Lyra's following. Are you hanging on to Twiggy?
I mean, she kind of tried to like bare hand baseball mitt Twiggy. Whether she got him or not, that's a different story. But she just kind of was like,
Twiggy, are you trying to stay out of Lyra's grasp, or do you mind being carried?
It happens, and being carried is truly, a much more regal treatment than having to fly myself. Oh, God.
So as you... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
and I mean, Lyra's already started this kind of like lie that like Twiggy's like their pet.
Right.
So, like, And she just kind of like puts him on her shoulder like a pirate and a parrot.
And as you walk by, like, you get several looks. You can see they're wearing helmets, but you can see like the guard's eyes kind of following Twiggy, and there's a couple of like, oh, what is that? It's some of them are like, ugh, and some of them are like, oh, it's so cute.
Yes, I am.
So the group follows Alphonse. It takes a few minutes to get out of the like, essentially it takes you a couple minutes to get away from the guards. It was a large enough group. As you're looking, you kind of get the feeling that this was the group that Alphonse had led in the guise of the captain, and then the group that the captain had led. And you get the idea there's a little bit of confusion how the captain led them both here, but they're just kind of mingling, waiting for the captain and the guards who went off into the alleys to return. And you get out of their torchlight, and you're just kind of in that every other light going down the thoroughfare again. Everyone make perception checks.
Can I also ask that Lyra make an insight check on top of that perception check?
Sure. Just let me know what you're inciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, her perception check is awful. Oh, she does have advantage. Wait, I forgot about that. Ooh, 20 for perception.
Nice.
Inciting, because they did see the captain and the guards go off into the alleys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they these? Lyra's trying to figure out if it's the same alleys that they now are hearing the yips from.
Gotcha.
Or do we not
So,
need me roll?
so the yips actually stopped before you got to the guards.
Okay.
But with
But-
that,
yeah.
23, and Lilith, you also notice there are shapes that are jumping across rooftops. You don't see them all that much, but it does appear that there is somebody about 2 houses down from the main thoroughfare. There's at least 1, maybe 2, it's hard to tell, shapes that are essentially jumping between roofs, or if it gets to a larger alley, they're jumping down and then like hefting themselves back up. Depending
Yeah,
on...
Lyra wanted to insight for like, hey, the captain and some other of the guards went this
Right.
way, and then these eyes kind of showed up, and now the captain isn't here, but other guards are, and that type of like insight check. AKA are the yips and
Right.
people follow like the captain, like that's kind of like her. That's like her. That's what her brain would do, to be like, wait, hold on a second.
So I'm gonna say, like, there's not necessarily any direct proof. However, you do recall about the same number of guards plus the captain as there are sets of eyes that have been watching. So quite possibly, you did also
pretty much.
hear. You also did notice that the yipping that called out was answered by yipping that was further away. So there are more.
Right,
So it's hard to say for sure.
That's totally fine. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But Lyra's brain is a churning.
Yeah.
I know, and she's like speed walking alongside of everybody. She's like, hold on. She's like,
Yeah, and I definitely feel like Elijah's brain might glom onto that and hold it. You know, like
yeah.
it's
She's definitely that type of person. Once she gets like an idea in her head, she's like obsessive.
okay.
Right? She's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's definitely eating away now at your wonders.
okay, cool. Thank you.
So Lyra and Lilith, do you say anything, or are you? What's your?
We should be open about this. So this is weird, and it's their land, so they should know what's going on. We're the ones that are contemplating. I say we should mention something about it.
Okay.
Like,
What do you say?
I don't know, Lyra.
is very much in her own head right now, right? She's like,
All right.
like obsessing over this idea that she has suddenly had. Whether it's true or not, she doesn't know, but she's like obsessing over it. But she does, notice it, and she's like, still being followed, and that's like kind of all she says.
You notice Alphonse looks around. Where are they?
They're just a couple of houses down, and they're running along the roofs, following us.
We need to hurry. We must get there before they do. And he kind of starts like jogging, not like full running, but like kind of somewhere between a jog and a run.
Okay.
Walking.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
walking.
I'm gonna speed walk and turn.
Okay.
With my cape kind of flying back a little bit.
Burning calories. Why doesn't everyone make an athletics check?
Oops.
Nice.
Not that.
All right, I won't even bother rolling one because with your group one, it totally makes it. Essentially, you speed up, and as you're looking down and you're keeping an eye on the rooftops, you can see this creature, their shadow on that's just barely illuminated by very faint light from the clouds. Some kind of reflection of street lights coming off of the clouds. You can see the shape that's trying to stay up, like keep up with you, but now that you've sped up, really moving across rooftops here isn't that easy, and so you manage to at least get far enough ahead of them that you start losing sight, and then it disappears completely. And as it does so, the magistrate Alphonse, he points, he's like, it's that one right there. We can make it. And he keeps running. And up ahead you do see a gated house, like the yard is gated in wrought iron, and it's a fairly decent sized, we'll call it like a mini mansion. It's a very nice large house, not quite as big as some of the ones that you can see further up the thoroughfare. There are lights lit inside, and like torches and lanterns are lit that essentially illuminate a good amount of the yard around it, whether they're on posts or on the actual fences. And he gets to the front fence, and there are two guards, one on either side, that open it for him. He stops and he says, we have company following us. And then he heads inside. They nod, and each of them pulls out a stone and begins talking to it, and then puts it away. What do you do?
I know what the stone is.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it looked like they spoke to it, and they said the same thing. They're like, we have company. And then they put it away.
Like, who are you talking to? What is the stone? And tell me more about these things that are following us.
Please, ma'am, follow the magistrate.
All right.
Does everyone follow through the gate?
Yeah, we've been officially
I'll
called
follow.
company.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sorry, Dizzy, what did you say?
I said I'll follow.
Okay. All right, so as everyone heads through the gate, you hear the clanging of it close behind you, and like essentially it has like a latch that would be easy to open from the other side because it's just wrought iron bars, but it does latch shut, and the two guards draw their weapons and are looking off into the night. Alphonse heads up towards the front door, where you see two more guards that have already drawn their swords and look ready, and one opens the door for you all to head in. Is anyone not following?
No, I'm following.
Okay.
No.
So you all follow in, and the guard closes it behind you. You enter in, and there's this very fairly large entry room that has a staircase directly across from you that leads up to a landing that seems to wrap around on either side. And you can see that there are doors to either side of you, as well as essentially underneath the stairs on either side. And Twiggy, the first thing that you really notice is there's this scent of food. It's kind of hard to make out what it is. It smells kind of spicy, maybe a little fruity. There might be some vegetable in there as well, but it's like kind of old cooking smell as opposed to just recently cooked smell. Everyone else, you can tell that, you know, it's I feel like you're not as food oriented. So maybe you notice that there is this smell, but it's not quite so pungent for you. And Alphonse stops and he puts his hands on his knees, and you see his skin kind of ripple, almost like he's having a hard time holding it together. I need to get out more. What do you do?
Ask him a bunch of questions.
Okay, what would you like to know?
Well, tell me more about those things that are following us. What are those rocks that your people are communicating with, and how do they defend the house?
Oh,
And who are they
I hire
communicating?
very strange people. They all seem to think that talking to rocks allows them to hear one another. It's the strangest thing. And then his mouth goes up in a smile, and he's like, "No, I jest. Those are some of the very few remnants of magical items left in the realm. They're called sending stones, and they allow another set of guards on the property has their pair, so they can communicate back and forth. The creatures that follow us, they are shapeshifters, unlike my kind. I don't know much about them other than they have a different natural form, I've been told, something similar to that of a beast, and it seems that they have definitely escaped from the prison that held them.
Okay.
What was your other question?
He answered all of them.
Okay.
What were those things that he was using to communicate? Who were they communicating with? And tell me more about those beast things.
Gotcha.
Lyra doesn't have a question, but more of a statement.
Yeah.
You know, she's like a little winded, but you know, most of them, like outside of Alphonse, like rolled pretty well. So she's like a little winded, but like, you know, like she's went for a brisk jog and she's fine, right? But she kind of looks at him as they stumble through, and that ripple that happened on his skin, she goes, "That's not your face."
I mean, it is the face that I live with, yes. But it is not the face I was born with, no.
Lyra's like mouth kind of purses and her eyes narrow, you know, and she's like, kind of like, she didn't say it out loud, but it just kind of goes like, "I don't like it." And like her entire expression is like, "I don't like it."
He looks at all of you. Would it make you feel better if you saw my natural form?
Well, you've
Yeah.
seen ours, so
He glances at Twiggy, like unsure that he's actually seen all of your true forms, but he stops and his visage of Alphonse melts away. And there was like this kind of in-between stage that you all saw earlier where there's like purple moving flesh, and that doesn't go away this time. Instead, it kind of settles, and essentially it's almost plain. It's almost a letdown. You were expecting something more. There's just this kind of like plain purple, mouthless, noseless head. There's no hair. There's just kind of musculature, and even that is like almost smooth, almost rubbery looking. What does remain are two eyes that are pupilless. They are just kind of a yellowish white. And he just kind of like stands there and looks at you all.
That's much better. Thank you.
Yeah, Lyra's pretty. Yeah, yep. She's like, thanks.
And then he kind of shrugs and Alphonse melts back into place. Unfortunately, I cannot talk in that physique, although I can hear you if you would like to communicate with me.
Okay. So what's the plan? What do you want us to do now?
Well, looking at you all, in the light here, I realize you look quite tired. Would you like a place to rest for the night?
Yes.
Or what's
That
left of it?
sounds fantastic.
He walks over, and at the bottom of the stairwell is a little pillar upon which is a pillow, upon which is a little silver bell, and he picks it up and rings it. I will have Frederic show you to your to some guest quarters here momentarily. He kind of waits for a moment, picks up the bell and rings it again. Frederic! And you hear a door open down to the right hallway under the stairs, and this fellow in looks like a single piece slipwear or sleepwear with a cap comes stumbling out, and he's squinting in the light. Yes, sir. Show these kind people to the guest quarters upstairs. Yes, sir. And he comes over and he's like, this way.
Go ahead and follow him.
Okay. Do you have any luggage?
I don't, but I'm going to lay my hand on his shoulder and say thank you for asking, and I'm sorry we had to wake you up.
Oh, no bother. It is my duty to help and to make sure the master's guests are seen to. You get the feeling he's kind of past middle age, but isn't quite. He's not as elderly as Henry, for example, that you met earlier in the evening, and he leads you up the stairs. He walks as fast as you. It's not like a, oh, hold on a moment while I get up there. Is everyone following Frederic up the stairs?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So he shows you, how many rooms would you like? He can offer you 3.
I'm okay if someone will let me just use a chair in their room.
Okay. We can also bring in mattresses to lay on the floor if you prefer to all be in the same room together.
Maybe that would be a smart thing.
Essentially, each of the rooms are have 2 beds. So if you want, depending on what Twiggy wants, they can bring in a mattress for a third and a pillow for Twiggy to lay on. Or if Twiggy really wants a full-size mattress, that is also doable.
I mean, kind of do, but I think a pillow probably would be more than sufficient.
Okay. So you notice as like some other workers come in and carry over a mattress and a pillow. Why doesn't everyone make an insight check? All right, so Lyra and Lilith, you notice that everyone doesn't, none of you feel like any of them are disgruntled as far as getting up to do this in the middle of the night. Probably not the first time. But Lyra and Lilith, you notice that there's a certain lethargy to their motion, and their cheeks seem a little sallow. Their hands are the skin on them is a little pulled. It looks like they're also having some signs of lack of food. You can smell that there was food made, so it does seem like they're eating, but this problem that this district is encountering might stretch beyond the house that you found that fellow in, which essentially backs up what Alphonse told you. What do you do?
That makes me feel very, very sad. Do we still have our own rations?
You do have your own rations, yeah.
Okay. Whoever is helping me, I want to give them like a little bit of cheese
Okay.
for
And
my
you pull
ration.
out like a little wheel of cheese and cut off some, or do you just want to give them the whole chunk?
I'm gonna cut off some
Okay.
and just say thank you.
Oh, thank you, miss. It's much appreciated. Twiggy's over there just like stuffing rations in his face.
Well, I kind of want to find out where that food smell's coming from,
Yeah.
because I mean, he did call us guests, and I've heard guests more than once now. So it started correctly. All right, see what this goes.
Yeah, and as far as your rations go, so essentially, I know you took a rest in the mists as you were traveling between the house you arrived in and this realm. So I know you've at least eaten once, and you get the feeling it's time's really hard to gauge at this time, or at this moment, because you were in the mist for a while and there wasn't really any sense of time in there. You've been here for several hours. You were in the house for at least a few hours. It's really kind of hard to tell how long it's been, but you're definitely starting to feel tired. And I feel like you might feel hungry. So if you want to eat rations, that's one option. If you want to ask about food, that is an option.
Personally, I feel like I already know their food circumstances, so I don't want to take more food from other people. But I'm curious to check out the kitchen as well, because it does smell like there's something going on. So I'd be okay with that.
Okay. You did eat bland fish and vegetables at the tavern also.
Mhm.
That was
Yes.
probably 5 or 6 hours ago.
Nebulously.
Yeah. Time's a little better here, but it's still difficult because you don't see the sun. The cloud and the smog covers it. So Dizzy, what are you doing?
I think I'm gonna follow Lilith into the kitchen.
Okay. So as everyone's bed is getting made up, is everyone heading down, or Lyra, are you going to wait here?
Lyra literally, she's been through the mental ringer, but not physical, so she'll just kind of give like a look to one of the beds and go, and like
Soon, my
resignedly
precious,
follow after.
soon. Okay.
Yeah, resignedly kind of follow after. Is Twiggy still on her shoulder?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure.
So as the group heads out, Frederic is standing there. Oh, may I help you? The loo is right down there. If you need anything during the night, there's a bell, and he points at the bell that's sitting on a pillar that's on top of a... Sorry, the bell that's on top of a pillow that's on top of a pillar just outside your door.
I think Lilith had led the way. Maybe?
Do you
Yeah.
Do you answer Frederic? What do you say?
I'm just gonna nod. I'm not really gonna answer. I'm just gonna nod to him
And then you just
and
walk by.
and just walk by him.
Oh, okay. Okay. And he just like stands there and waits. And as the group inside finish making the beds, he goes in and checks everything and like lights little lamps that are next to each of the beds, and he lights one that is on the there's like a vanity, and he places a pitcher that has water in it on there, and then he walks out and closes the door. You notice this as you're walking down the stairs following that scent. It's on the same side that he came out of, but Twiggy, you're pretty sure this closer door leads to the room that has the wonderful smells in it.
Ah, well then go through that door.
As you open it, you see not an enormous, but a fairly decent sized dining room. It has a long dining table that is not set currently. There is a centerpiece that has some kind of strange bird. It's kind of hard to describe. It has like a strange purplish blue head and then like these grayish dotted feathers on its chest, and these wings that are tucked in, and this very large fan of immense feathers that are blue and green and dotted with black and white, and it's stuffed, taxidermied, and is sitting in the center of the table. And you see a large set of double doors. There are candles lit in here. It's very dim, as opposed to you see lanterns and larger. There's like a large candelabra hanging from the ceiling. None of those are lit. It's really lit in here for passage through rather than like sitting and dining at right now. But you see a set of double doors that a faint light is coming out from underneath.
Double doors.
Okay, so Twiggy, you guide them towards the double doors, and as you go through, there's a fairly decent sized kitchen, much larger than the one that you had the lobster rolls in when you arrived here in the demi-plane of dread.
Dreadful rolls.
Right. I mean, they were moving and you decided to eat them anyway. So far it's been fine.
It's probably fine.
There are a couple of people that are sitting in here. They're like eating from a bowl that looks like it has some kind of soup in it, but otherwise you don't see anything actively being cooked. And they both look up, but one of them says, "Oh, we were told that you arrived. We didn't know you needed anything. Do you need something?"
I'm just gonna say no for myself.
There's a bit of soup left. If we could split it amongst you if you're all hungry.
It's really nice
Lyra.
of them.
Yeah, Lyra also says no. She's good.
Okay.
I also declined.
It is the right. The accord has begun. So
One of them sets down a bowl of soup, gets up, lifts the lid off of a large iron kettle, takes a ladle and dips up some soup, and then stops and like his eyes go wide and he looks at Twiggy. Like it took him that long to realize that the weird creature talked and that he's actually like getting the creature soup. And he hands the bowl to Lyra while staring at Twiggy sitting on her shoulder.
Lyra just kind of goes, thanks.
Does your pet need a spoon?
I don't know. Does Twiggy need a spoon?
I mean, technically, all he really needs is a spoonful. He's not that big. You gotta save room for beer. Also, did you just say pet?
Yes, I'm sorry. The Master Alphonse said that there were 3 guests and a pet, and I'm
Wait.
counting 3 guests and a pet, and you could hear the question mark on the end.
You say this three guests? Do you say 3?
Yes.
Well, I wonder which one of you is not a guest, because I certainly am.
Inspiration.
Thank you.
He kind of like backs away from Lyra, hence Twiggy, and sits back down and is just like staring, and kind of blindly reaches out and picks up his bowl again and starts eating. Lyra, you notice that the bowl is warm but not like overly hot, and glancing down into it, it's more of a broth than a soup. It does have some floating bits in it that you kind of register as vegetable remnants, something, and there's like a little skim of oil that's on the top. What would you like to do with this bowl that is as large as Twiggy?
He's just gonna kind of hold it up to him and just be like,
3 guests and a pet.
apparently she's now Twiggy's pet, but sure.
Finally, they realize.
Yeah, I'll only have a few bites. It's a ceremonial partaking of the meal.
It is super bland. If it is supposed to have a flavor, you can't quite make out what that flavor is. It seems it kind of leaves like an oily feeling in your mouth. It's almost like they might have boiled meat in the broth, but you're not totally sure.
Exotic.
Totally.
Exotic.
Is anyone else doing anything while you're in the kitchen here?
I'm just gonna glance around and see, I guess, like the setup.
It looks like a well laid out kitchen with a lot of things that you would expect in a kitchen, except for there's a couple of dangling like tubers, things like carrots that are kind of sad looking, and a couple of herbs that are dried. You see that there's an open pantry that has a couple of jars of things in it, but a lot of the jars are empty. So it seems like a well-stocked kitchen to make things if it had things to make.
Okay. Well, maybe if we figure out the fish fiasco, this kitchen will get more use.
And all of you notice every so often there's a window that is set in the wall over what looks like a wash sink. You notice torches being carried by as a duo of guards will walk by. One's carrying the torch, the other one has a sword out. It's pretty obvious as they're walking, and every so often a pair will walk by in one direction that's closer to the house, and further out between the back of the house and that wrought iron fence, you see another pair that's walking on the inside of the gate. Lilith, is there anything you need to do in here?
I think I'm okay just observing everything.
Okay. Are you all ready to head back upstairs and go to bed, or what's your plan? Like as you hang out in here, it definitely starts seeping in, like the non-stop going of the last many hours.
Yeah, I think I'm personally down for a sit down, a lay down.
Same.
Okay. So Lyra, what do you do with the bowl of soup that's still mostly full?
I mean, Twiggy did at least take a spoonful, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's about a quarter of the way empty.
yeah. So she's like, thanks. And she just kind of puts it back on the table. Like,
So yeah, you set it on like the prep table next to the stove, and as you walk out, you can hear the kettle lid being lifted and it being poured back into the kettle, and then the kettle's closed. The lighting is the same as you head out. It seems like they keep it lit in here throughout the night, at least to some extent, to be able to walk around. And you head back up the stairs. You don't see Frederic or Alphonse or any of the other workers. And as you get to your door, it's like cracked open, but isn't all the way open. Almost like they closed it most of the way for your privacy, but didn't want to like shut it completely. As you head into the room, there are those 3 lanterns that are lit, like the little glass lamps. Yeah, what do you do?
Just wait till tomorrow. That's when the dance begins. We'll dance for, I don't know, 7 days, I think. There'll be wine. Oh, it's going to be lovely.
So Dizzy, having traveled with Twiggy before, you've actually seen this happen when he happens to meet someone who is also from the Feywild, but has come to this, well, your normal realm, and has like essentially set up a property that they now own. You've definitely seen this happen. It's strange. Seems like a lot of time spent honoring the guest, but you know, hey, to each their own, I guess. Make an insight check, Dizzy. You're not really sure whether or not these people understand what is expected of them, but I guess you'll find out in the morning.
Right.
You're a little concerned as you lay your head down on the pillow, and wow, that is actually really comfortable. You're a little concerned that if they don't have the customary confections ready with the sparkler that's stuck in there, Twiggy might be upset, but you know, again, that's a problem for in the morning.
It's the effort that counts.
Right?
And the 2 fingers that they have to give up for each rite that they forget, but we'll get to that later.
Does everyone head to bed?
yeah, Lyra pretty heavily just like into bed. She's done.
To try and sleep, but just kind of basically pretend, I think. Try and close her eyes.
All right, so as you all drift off pretty easily, surprisingly so, into sleep, every so often you feel like you can hear a yip in the near distance, like not in the yard outside, but maybe a block or 2 away. But sleep just grabs you and pulls you down into it. Oh man, there's a thing that I needed to do. There you are. Dizzy. Roll a d6 for me. All right. So the next morning, you wake. The lamps are actually out, but there's enough light filtering in through the windows that you're able to see around in the light, as opposed to needing dark vision. Dizzy, you feel terrible. You're not really sure what it is. Your body just aches. As you sit up, you have like a little bit of like a palsy, like your hands are shaking. You're really not feeling well. And on that note, we will wrap it up for this week. As everyone turns to look at Dizzy, and I mean it's obvious, like he's shaking. His skin color has kind of paled, so instead of like that kind of dark purplish black, you're now like kind of almost like a sickly green, especially like in your face. It's just like obvious that something is wrong with Dizzy. Any questions, comments, complaints, concerns?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
We took a long rest, right?
You did. So make sure to hit that long rest button over on D&D Beyond. Get your hit points back. And I will explain at the beginning of next episode what this strange feeling is that Dizzy has. All right. Well, thanks to everybody for watching, and we will see you next week live here on Twitch. If you are watching on Twitch right now, same bat time, which is 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you're watching on YouTube, well, then come join us live some Wednesday and chat. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.